Hello, everybody, and welcome back to episode 2 of Theory Crafting. In this episode, we're finally going to be. Well, I'm reading it, and then I'm just telling you my thoughts. And we're starting with the prologue, and the prologue doesn't have very much in it. So this is going to be a pretty short episode. I've got a few thoughts though. So basically, in the prologue, it starts with a video, like an instructional video. Well, not an instructional video. It's like a propaganda video for these things that you put on your arm. They turn you into these knights. They're able to hold a whole lot of weaponry. You'll have like missiles and crazy shit, and because of some future technology, you're able to hold a whole, like, more than you'll need. More ammunition than you'll need, more weapons than you'll need inside of this arm thing, that this armband. They look kind of like Yu-Gi-Oh! Dual discs, but they're not. They're completely different. You don't play cards with them. You shoot people with them with missiles. But it also works as a shield. It's got something called the rejection shields, I think they were called, and they protect you from bullets and stuff, and they make you be able to fly. So you're able to fly everywhere, so you can do everything that a jet can do. You can do everything that a walking person can do. You can do anything that, like, a tank could do. Yeah, so a big theme of that throughout the rest of the story that we haven't gotten to yet is these things, they could, just a few people could just replace the army with the, because only a certain amount of people are able to control them and stuff, but that's later on. I'm talking about the prologue right now. And so after the propaganda video, it zooms out of that, and we're treated to a scene of a whole bunch of military higher-ups talking to each other. Like, the head of the military is watching the video, and he's saying, could you make it shorter? And everybody else is like, no, we can't make it shorter because of all the new rules and regulations and blah, blah, blah. And so he's like, okay. So he gives them this lesson on how kids love explosions, and we need to put explosions in the first 15 seconds. I think it's kind of satirical, because he's all like, oh, I went to film school, and it's kind of sad though, because well, the way that they're talking about it, I'll go on a little more, because it's put into words in Okanogi's thoughts. And Okanogi is another character, and he is there, and he is thinking, he in his inner monologues, he talks about how the whole thing, the whole promotional video is really a propaganda video, and the one guy, the one actor in the video, while they were shooting it, he was flying around so fast that his eyeballs ruptured and he's blind now. And the guy at the end, actually, there's a big explosion at the end of the video, and the guy actually died in it, and they had to edit it to make it look like he survived. So they're lying so that they can get more. It's like, war propaganda. Like in World War II, they make war look cool and shit just to get people to go out there and fight. That's what it is, and that's why it's kind of sad. Even though, like, the way that he's going on about, like, the head of the military or whatever is going on about how he loves, about how he used to be in film school or whatever, and he knows how to make a good movie, and he's giving them all notes and stuff. It is really sad, and it's a statement about war and shit, and that, and a lot of that. Well, not war itself, a bit, like a little bit of war itself, but it's more about how people treat it. I guess. But some theory. I was thinking, because Okanogi, the very first time that I read this, it seemed to me a little bit like Okanogi was, without the context of the rest of the story, and just not knowing the character, or like, I know him from Higurashi, I guess, and he was in Umineko a little bit, but like not knowing who he's supposed to be in, Ciconia. It sounded a lot like he was happy about, like, you know, like he's in on it and he doesn't actually give a shit, and he's actually one of the bad guys. That's kind of what I thought, especially since he was a bad guy in Higurashi. But on a reread, it sounds more like, because later on it shows how he's like always complaining about the new Gauntlet Knights, but that's mostly what he's doing. He's just, it seems like he's just pointing out that these new, because this is taking place before the story, obviously, so he doesn't know that they actually do use the Gauntlet Knights in wars, and he's going on about how, oh, they'll never use the Gauntlet Knights in anything more than an e-sport, and they'll never be allowed to leave the simulation when they're fighting, so it doesn't matter, it's just an e-sport, it's a waste of money in the military, what are we gonna do? It's just to make the country look good, I guess, for the championship or whatever, that military championship that we're going to talk about like in a couple weeks when it happens in the story. But yeah, that's what they're getting ready for in this. And at the end, well, I'm going to go into Okanogi a little bit more, because even though I do not think on rereading that Okanogi is as ill-intentioned, I think he's there. I'm not sure if he actually likes it, but he's, I think that he knows what's going on. And I think he knows more than what, we would be led to believe by the rest, because I was reading a theory, and it talked about how Ryukishi 07's characters, when he uses the same character for in different stories, he doesn't call them the same character, but they're like the same actor, and the same actors will always play similar characters. And I didn't read about this. This had something else to do with Ciconia that I'm going to talk about later, but it hasn't come up yet. But it does make me believe that in the future we will find out that Okanogi is working with Veer. Maybe like he's hired by her. That's something that I think is going to happen, because that would parallel his relationship with that actor, in quotation marks, from Higurashi. So that's oh, and then at the end, after they're done talking, they start talking about how Meow, they introduce the character Meow, and it has some really cool, I remember when I first played the demo and it first showed the 3D at the beginning, at the end of the prologue, and it's way better than anything that was ever in Higurashi or Umineko. I really like it. Also, the battle next week I'm going to talk about with Jaden and Meow, like the mock battle that they have. That is a really fun one, and they go all out. But they introduce Meow as the leader. She's going to be representing a team at this championship thing that's coming up. That the whole, people from all over the world are going to be there, and that's what she's going to do. So if I missed anything, feel free to point it out in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you later.